Inside the elevator, the girl glanced at the security camera, moved her body closer to the corner, avoiding the camera's coverage. Then she put her hand inside her clothes, took out 2 eggs, and crushed the eggshells on the armrest, then shoved the whole egg into the mouth. Even though she was extremely hungry, she also couldn't let the surveillance cameras catch her sneaking a bite. However, at that moment, the manager entered the elevator, but the girl's eggs were still stuck in her throat, so she could only pretend as if nothing was wrong. But the manager seemed to have sensed something. He moved his nose close to Ella and sniffed around, then questioned Ella, "Did you fart?" Not waiting for the girl to explain, the manager shouted again, "No eating is allowed in the elevator, and farting is even more forbidden." Now that he detected a strange smell, it was decided to impose a fine on the girl. No matter how the girl explained, he did not listen at all, continuously insulting the girl, and showing a very disdainful expression. This made the girl feel extremely wronged, but even while crying she had to keep smiling, because this was the most high-end mall in the entire city, and Ella was an elevator attendant who specifically pressed buttons for customers. She wore high heels in the elevator, standing for more than 10 hours every day, and she also had to always maintain an elegant standing posture, provide enthusiastic service, and keep a sweet smile. Only when the elevator was completely empty could she relax a little. However, just as they were about to get off work, the manager suddenly entered the women's locker room. He relied on his position, then under the excuse of holding a meeting, picked apart the girls' work performance in every way, and using the excuse of helping them correct their etiquette posture, began to harass the girls. Although the girls were all very disgusted with him, but in order to keep this high-paying job, they could only silently endure it. But Ella was unwilling to endure it. She often helped her coworkers stand up to him. This was also the reason Ella was always picked on by him. However, what no one expected was, he would also select obedient girls after work to accompany company clients to sing and dance. Although the girls were extremely unwilling, could only brace themselves and go along with it, they originally thought that this way they could keep their jobs, but didn't expect that one day the manager suddenly announced that the company decided to no longer keep the elevator attendant position. Management decided to carry out layoffs in batches, so they needed them to voluntarily apply for resignation. But for girls without an education, this was like a bolt from the blue. The manager asked them to write down a list of coworkers they hoped would be laid off. Ella felt that the company did not give advance notice, and suddenly carried out layoffs, and using this kind of method that damaged friendships was too unreasonable, so she directly tore up the list. But she didn't expect the manager raised his hand and slapped her, and this slap completely woke Ella up, and made her make a decision that would completely change her life. It turned out that just a few days earlier, the director of the largest beauty salon in the country found Ella. She said that Ella's body proportions very much met her requirements. She wanted to invite Ella to participate in a beauty pageant. She wanted to train Ella into a beauty pageant champion, but at that time Ella was still somewhat hesitant, because she had a secret unknown to others. Want to know what happens next? Stay tuned for the next chapter. The story unfolds soon.